It's a classic filmmaking effect that's been hiding in plain sight for years. If you've ever watched TV shows like Breaking Bad or Lost, and legendary films like Jurassic Park, Titanic and The Shawshank Redemption, you've more than likely seen this effect in action. The mysterious effect I'm talking about is called halation, and today we're going to shine a light on it. But fair warning, once you know what halation is, you'll never be able to unsee it ever again. So, you're probably wondering what halation is. To put it simply, halation is a film effect that occurs when the brightest areas of an image glow red or orange. It's an effect that appears when filmmakers opt to shoot on celluloid film as opposed to shooting digitally. Halation is usually most visible as a red or orange halo around the highlights, hence the name. But this characterization is a little misleading, as halation affects any area of intense brightness. Let's look at an example from the 2010 film Black Swan to illustrate this point. The film was shot on 16mm film. In this shot in particular, we can see the halation occur on the spotlights behind the dancers. If we zoom in, you can see a soft, deep orange glow surrounding these spotlights. But if you look at the spotlights themselves, you can see they have a warm orange hue to them. This is also halation, and a classic example of this effect in action. So why does halation happen? Halation occurs when really bright light enters the camera. This light passes through the three colour sensitive layers of the film stock. It then hits the anti-halation backing layer. This layer's purpose is to absorb the remaining light. But sometimes light from really bright sources is too strong and it bounces off this layer. It then travels back into the red sensitive layer and sometimes the green layer too. This is why most of the time halation is red, and sometimes orange when the light passes into the green layer too. Now you know the basics, let's explore halation in more detail and expose this effect you've likely never noticed before. As we've already seen, halation often shows on bright artificial lights. In this shot taken from season 3 of Breaking Bad, we can see lots of halation. The car's headlights are glowing bright orange with an intense showcase of halation. This creates an almost dreamy atmosphere in the shot. There's also halation covering the sky, especially on the brightest part, which adds to the dreamy feeling of shooting with celluloid film. Finally, if you look at Walter White on the left, you can see the deep red halation that's covering his right shoulder, caused by the bright sunlight. You'll see halation throughout all 5 seasons of Breaking Bad, as the majority of the show was shot on 35mm Kodak Vision 2 film. Even legendary film director Steven Spielberg has halation appear in his films. His 1993 film Jurassic Park has an example that shows it perfectly. Similar to the examples we've seen previously, there's halation showing on all the bright artificial lights. But I want to focus on the character's glasses. The tabletop light is casting 4 really bright reflections, and these reflections are sparkling with an almost golden orange colour. Have you seen The Shawshank Redemption? It's an all-time classic that's been watched by millions of people worldwide. And one notable scene in particular has a spectacular display of halation. It's a scene where protagonist Andy Dufresne is being threatened by Captain Hadley on the roof of the prison. If you look closely at both of the prison guards' hats, you can see the bright reflections coming off the glossy brims. The reflections have a real subtle but ethereal reddish glow to them. Another place you'll often find halation is on well-lit windows. This type of effect can become very striking and oftentimes is particularly pronounced. It's almost impossible to ignore the halation in this shot from the 2018 film Mission Impossible Fallout. All 3 of the windows in the background have a light red shade to them. This creates a dreamy and almost romantic look and feel to the shot. Halation is great at accentuating the look and feel you get from celluloid film, and can completely change the mood of a shot. Now let's see just how strong the effect can become. In Steven Spielberg's 1982 film E.T. the Extraterrestrial, halation is unmistakable. The flashlights and car lights are pointing directly at the camera, which is helping to create this intense showcase of halation. In this scenario, there doesn't seem to be too much halation directly showing on each light. This is most likely because the lights are so bright they've completely exposed the red layer already. However, a soft but very extreme red glow is straight away apparent surrounding each light, demonstrating just how eye-catching and vivid halation can become. We've seen a lot of examples of localized halation on bright sources, but did you know it can also show across the entire frame? The 1972 critically acclaimed film The Godfather has a textbook example. Halation is present across the entirety of the sky. If you look closely, the sky has a faint but noticeably orange shade to it. Although the effect is mild and muted across the sky, it becomes much more evident once you start examining the contours of the statue and the hedge in the bottom right corner. And once you've seen this clear-cut case of halation up close, it becomes much more prominent across the whole sky. We've covered a lot there, but I guess you're wondering why you should care about all this. Although it started out as an unintended artifact of shooting on celluloid film, halation has now become an essential part of authentically shooting with the medium. Halation isn't really an effect you can shoot for, but rather a pleasant byproduct that adds to that natural, organic, and tactile feeling of film. It helps to add an overall softness to the image, especially to the brightest and harshest light sources. It has the ability to completely change the look of the entire image, adding a special kind of allure. It's a testament to the technology that has brought us to where we are today. A lot of the instances we've looked at are from older film and TV examples. As technology has advanced, it's become commonplace to shoot films on digital cameras, as it's often cheaper and makes things substantially easier. But there are still filmmakers out there that prefer the traditional film format for their movies, keeping halation alive and well in modern cinema. As you can see, halation can present in many different scenarios, and in more than one way. There are more extreme instances, such as the intense red glow we saw in the E.T. example, which can add to the drama of a scene, to more subtle cases like the example from The Godfather, which can add an innate beauty to a shot. Now you know all about halation, I'm afraid that does mean the next time you're watching a film or TV series that was shot on celluloid film, you won't be able to unsee the dreamy effect ever again.